How are we, people? Now, I'm going to give you a story. Those who remember many years ago, things were beginning to change in Uganda, especially around Kampala. The dismantling of the state-owned parastatals. Checklist, Uganda Transport Company. One of the first things the government did in the early days, you know, when privatization came about, it was a slow and gradual process to take the state out of enterprise. They used to call them subsidiaries of government. You don't know these things now. I'm telling you, I'll talk about Uganda. Subsidiary, Uganda Commercial Bank, Uganda Development Bank, mukijjukire nayo Cooperative Bank. So many things. Genda babuulira ekyaliwo. But we're going to zero down on the Steyr bus. Steyr. Many of you don't know about this. We had buses imported as a donation. Now many people even didn't know. It's a donation. Let's go back. It was like this. Hey! He was the darling. Buli we yalaganga nga bamuwa buli kimu kyayagala. Buli we yalaganga nga bamuwa buli kimu kyayagala. The new breed of African statesmen. Baba listinga. So 1986, 1987, 1988. Batandika People's Transport. People's Transport. Zali bus, zali za Isuzu. It was a grant from Japan. Hey! Isuzu. Mujjukira bus za gondi za People's. Zali Jinja. Yewali HQ. Nezija directly in competition with UTC. UTC, their stock was Leyland, British. Of course, Obote had sought a lot of help from Britain. In the 5 years during the time he came back, Obote too. That meant a lot of everything to do with anything, to do with government, machinery, equipment, blah, 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 scholastics, everything to have it younger England. Are you with me? So this is going to become a parallel. Now, People's Transport Company would seal the fate for UTC. Eventually, People's Transport as well would collapse when everything went private. Mujjukira Yutoda, Uganda Taxi Operators and Drivers Association. Bagitandikirawo park enkadde. Headquarters nga ziri right across the Shell, yalinga Shell petrol station, ya the petrol station. Okwalinga gundi General Parts waggulu awe walinga offices za Yutoda under the chairmanship or the stewardship of Katongole, formerly a taxi driver Masaka Road. Katongole yali known, mama wange yali amumanyi nga basiramu bannaabwe, you know, I don't know, twabigenda nga maybe ekisiraamu, you know, naye nga she had many Muslim friends, my mom. And this is going to play a very pivotal role when she sets up business in transport. She had all the connections. So you get the full picture there. Kakati tuddayo many years ago. 1945. Mufuta bulungi nnyo. 1945, after the war, the veterans who returned back they had fought under the King's African Rifles. Mujjukire ekintu ekyo Museveni akyogerako nnyo Abaseveni. When they returned, which me I still contest, because many of the people were returned to Uganda. Some returned to Tanzania, others to Kenya. But my grandfather, Sumagire, was Ethiopian. He went haywire. But anyway, he settles in Uganda. That is where they were given land and settled there. On top of that, they were given a handshake. Baba wa Kasimo. They were given a big payout. So my grandfather buys a bus. Bus bajitanga Dokota. Dokota ne chuma. The one they used to my grandfather always talked about it. He talked about his bus. Even everybody in Butambala, Bukoloto, they knew the bus. It usually made one trip every week to Kampala. Coming to Kampala, ku bus z'Abaganda. Kati history ya bus z'Abaganda temugimanyi. Kalina kasaawe. That whole area has changed. When I do the Google Street View, I don't even see any landmark there. Bus z'Abaganda was parking anga. But those come in the 60s. Those come in the 60s because what usually used to happen, because back in the day in the 50s and the early 60s, there was whiling away Chibali. Certain areas, Abadugavu, Baita Baswap, we access. They couldn't. So downtown Kampala, yonna muchisenyi once, yo. Kati bus was asimbanga. Zajanga n'ebyamaguzi enkoko enganda enkoko ebita everything. That was the beehive. Bus z'Abaganda. So my mom growing up as a child, she had a vivid picture of buses being owned by their father, my grandfather. And that is going to be pivotal when she makes the decision to go into transport. So in 1985, my mom retires from Uganda Development Corporation, where she had worked for only 5 years as a chief executive secretary, company secretary, hatchery division. Her boss was Roger Mukasa, who had been coffee marketing board chairman. Kat Roger Mukasa yasumine tata wange. So she wasn't behind the scenes, she was on top of everything. Hakati Museveni bwajjamu 86 Nati Bagandi, he was the darling of everyone. Kakati twali mu kino ekintu kya Eastern Bloc ekya socialism. Museveni buli we yagenda nga bamuwa ebintu. Kakati those who were commenting, correcting, let me correct you people. The commentary was that the buses were imported by Steyr Motors. No. Steyr Motors took on the dealership through which the buses were coming to Uganda. Initially, the buses were a donation, old stock. Kakati zina socialist, communist republics, especially Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, zali allied to African countries. Kakati ezo buses zali mpya, zali nkadde. The same would apply to the trucks which were imported for the army. Mujjukira trucks za IFA zabakazaako imported for accidents ezitasibanga. Hey, ezo nazo zatta abantu. IFA. Ati my mom retires from Uganda Development Corporation 85, but she stayed on for about 3 years, but she was still being paid. Not government area kavako. kati obota avaako kiraba. So there were many things going on, and between July the 25th and January the 26th, there was no activity. There wasn't anything happening in the government. There was a state of emergency. So 86 Museveni ayingirawo. Kakati kiri bwe kiti. Ezo baasi under the Uganda Development Corporation, under the Uganda Cooperative Bank, mwizaayita. On soft loan, you would get a bus. Zali bus maker, there were about 110 buses. Zali nyingi. But in terms of Uganda at that time, that was very, very big stock. That was very, very big. Kubanga already kati zine zalayira and za instance okaddiwa eza UTC. They were aging. Mujjukira UTC yali on its last leg. Nga all the buses are like, no. They were not fit for purpose. Eventually, that would mean that when they sold it, UTC, the last managing director, Mwami Matovu, yali ava Mutambala, era nga bamanyiganye na mama wange. So let's go back to the Steyr buses. Akati, the connection is this. When these governments used to donate these things, Czechoslovakia, the buses came from Austria. Austria used to be part of the communist republics in the Caucasus. Mumanye Caucasus, Caucasian, waliwo ekitundu mu Europe awo obusi obuli alliant buli wakati mulimu Hungary, Budapest, Czechoslovakia, Slovakia, very tiny countries. In fact, we were in a union. Bwakola union. Bajita CIF, Commonwealth of Independent States, something like that. Nenga bwali bagala nnyo Africa. So nga batuwa bus ezo. Eza Steyr. Kyembagambye nti bus zaali nkadde. Kati these countries usually would have a lot of stock. Kati basi nga zijjidde mu Steyr Motors. With the soft loan from Cooperative Bank, you would borrow and get a bus. Kati for us, our situation was different. My mom was an insider. Kati akasiimo ke baamuwa basi emu ya bwerere n'agula basi ddala yakubiri. There were two buses. There's a Steyr buses zemulaba ezo nezitandika okukola ku stage mu bus z'Abaganda. I remember one bus used to go to Masindi. For some reason, they all plied the western route and the northern route. Then at the climax, nga buli kimu kiweddeyo nga zonna zizze Uganda. There was
spokesman. Uganda spokesman.
I think. Yes, buddy. How are you, my uncle? I'll see you in a minute. Yeah. There was. Yeah, I'm making the video.
What's you making? What's the video for?
Here.
How can you do any exercise there?
I'm coming inside.
Apart from running your mouth. That's
How have you been today?
Oh, I had a lot of cardio because I had no energy. No energy at all, so I went like this.
Yeah, it's the weather as well.
I just think I'm finishing off, I want to go, I'm tired, the usual stuff.
Right. I'll see you tomorrow.
3:30.
Okay.
Okay.
Be good.
See you.
All right, love.
Bye.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Kakati Bulangiti Express ye bus company gyenzijjukira eyaliwo ebiseera ebyo ng'eddukanya bus za Steyr. Do you get the story? Kakati ebyaddirira awo nga ebintu bitandika okukyuka katuyingira early 90s 92-93 nabagambye edda what was happening now. UTC was dying, peoples also was going to meet the same fate. Kakati ekibuzo kye neebuuza, eyo People's Bus Company yeri introducing Isuzu buses, or Isuzu. In fact, there was Isuzu Uganda as well. Nzuka waliwo showroom. Where did it go? Where did it go? Australia? Yeah, something along those lines. I'm sure there was nenga buses zo zajja muzijjukira zaali on the eastern route only. Jinja Kampala. Kakati mami ayingidde transport. Eventually she would venture into Kamunyezi. Oluyitodde etandise stage ya Namasuba najja nankumbizana. Awo twalinawo fleet ya taxi ezaali ziwerera ddala. Kati olwo eventually my mom would enter into a franchise with Coca-Cola. Bwe bukiyosiki bwe bwasookerawo ddala ku paaka awo wonna. Mama wange yali nannyini bwo. N'alyoka akola ssente empya n'enkadde. Kakati going back many years, Pepsi Cola Lake Victoria Bottling Company ye yalina monopoly. Nambuzi temubimanyi. Pepsi Cola Lake Victoria Bottling. My dad had shares in that. Yalinamu shares era ne depot eya regional distribution yali ku Nabugabaawo ya Kampala yali ya muzeeyi wange. Mbozi sigiba wange eya Pepsi Cola. Yes, it was the dominant soft drink in Uganda. Kakati Coca-Cola agenda okuyingirawo. My mom knew the innings and comings of how the soft drinks would operate. Kakati yo Coca-Cola neetamu kiosks. In fact, Pepsi Cola, they have never had any kiosks in Uganda. No, it is only Coca-Cola. Now Coca-Cola sent. Then from there, naggulawo edduuka mu Kikuubo. Ekikuubo ekyo kyemulaba ekyo. Let me give you this one as well. Kakati kyemutamanyi nti Central Business District ya Uganda abakazi be baasinga okukola ki? Okubeera instrumental in its formation. Era abakazi basuubuzi nnyo, baasuubulanga Kenya material, baasuubulanga Kenya eŋŋano, baasuubulanga buli kimu Kenya, then ne batandika ne Dubai. Era economy ya Uganda, abakazi baadde very, very pivotal nnyo mu playing a role y'amaanyi nnyo. And nekijjako kina kwe kyava nga kina kwe kyava during the war abakazi be baasinganga okukola. Kati nekibeera instilled mu culture y'Abannayuganda. Era wonna ojja kusanga abafuba bukyayi awo wonna wansi, abatunda endiboota, whatever, buli kimu bakazi beereere. So ekya Steyr nja kyongerayokko, nja kumera kuba explaining. Naye nga there are three things you have to bear in mind. Ezo baasi yali soft loan to the people. Naye nga initially it was a donation, grants. Government is, how governments deal with. Maybe bingi nyowawo n'ebivaani ebya outside broadcasting bye bawa UTV donated from the people of. You're coming back?
Yeah, I'm coming back.
Okay. From the people's whatever of Yugoslavia ebya orange mubijjukira. Yeah, byali donation. Nga bikadde. What else can I tell you what I remember? Mujjukire motoka za Gundi, za Santana, Land Rover, ezava Spain. Isuzu KB. That is the entry of Isuzu. Look at Isuzu Kebbi. Ezaali government stock. Ezaavugwanga ba RDC, ba commissioner. Izo nazo Isuzu Kebbi. And then Nissan Laurel. Ezaali ngezaba minister. That is Japan. Nissan Laurel. Toyota tiyali amaanyi nnyo. Toyota yali nnyo mu yajja towards the beginning of the 90s when we used to have a lot of second-hand reconditioned cars. Our Toyota we are dominating nnyo. Naye kati nga yo Nissan yeweereza bipya. The government there was in Nissan Uganda ekyaliyo. Toyota Uganda yaliyo, that is Walusindi. They had the franchise. Naye nga emmotoka ezikati eza Toyota ezajjanga zaalinga nnyo z'aba diplomati. Ba ambassador bwe batyo. Mujjukira ebintu bino people. Kiraba? Naye nga kati what marked the end of the Steyr. Baasi ezo zaalina mechanical problems nyingi nnyo. Zaahitinganga. Ensi gye zivaamu, the country of origin is very cold. So when they were brought, Bazirete, Uganda, the weather conditions weren't ideal for the engine. Eranga engine ziwuguma nnyo. Heating problem was one of the biggest problem. Mubimanyi. But they were not meant for our road conditions and the weather as well. But that was introducing luxury. The beginning of luxury travel. Kati bidibidi basi. Mwana basi zetwali nyanga. UTC zali mfunyo. They were fabricated kawempe. Wanga bajukira baletanga engine. Isuzu buses baletanga engine. Knocked down parts, completely knocked down parts. That's what I remember. Yeah, Isuzu. Musa Bode. Behavior. So kakati we shall continue.